Welcome back to Mountain Life Fitness and Yoga with Christy. Today's yoga class is Sun Salutations, and this is a beginner-friendly class, all levels really, but specifically for beginners, to just take these magical things that are called sun salutations and dissect it from beginning to end, and make sure that you understand all the different movements and the hows and whys. So in Sanskrit, the ancient language, sun salutation is called Surya Namaskara. So I have a piece of paper here that I'll put up in the screen at the end of class, and it just has all of the Sanskrit names and then just the English explanation of what it is. So you'll have this that you can take a screenshot of if you like, just so that when you practice on your own, you have a frame of reference. You can choose to ignore these Sanskrit words if you like, but I like to use them because having been used for as long as they have in this language, they are imbued with some strength and power. Plus, they're just fun to say. So I'm going to spend about a half an hour teaching this to you, and then I would recommend that you do them on your own for at least 6 rounds. That's a good workout. A sun salutation is, it's a vinyasa. So the words here, we have vinyasa is a series of asanas. So all it means, asana is a pose. So like this is mountain pose. It's called Tadasana. When you take one pose, one asana, and you string it together with other poses in a very specific way, it becomes a vinyasa. So what that means is that sun salutations are just a vinyasa. So when you hear about vinyasa class, that really just means movement orchestrated and set to breath. So demystifying some of the Sanskrit there. So for sun salutations, for Surya Namaskara, there are essentially 3. There's the classical Surya Namaskara. There's also, the second one would be called Surya Namaskara A or Sun A, and Surya Namaskara B or Sun B. So today I'm going to break down the classical, which is just the basic. Sun A and Sun B just add 2 to 4 elements each, so it's kind of the same flow, the same vinyasa, with a little bit more good things for your body. One of the things that I'd like you to know about sun salutations, they are kind of an all-body awakening. It's a really good way to start the day. It's really good for the integrity of your spine. One of the poses, down dog, is strengthening and stretching of almost the entire body. A couple of the poses strengthen and stretch your hip flexors, your quadriceps, your hamstrings, your shoulder girdle will get a little bit of stretch. Your core will get some stretching and some strengthening. It's also very grounding and calming. So while it does sort of wake up your body and make you feel invigorated, it's also very calming for the mind and the spirit. So do a Sun A every day. I'll teach you Sun A and Sun B in following segments. So we'll just break down first a couple of the different postures. But before we do that, let's just take a couple rounds of breath. So wherever you're at, just start to relax a little. Shrug your shoulders up, back, and down. Give yourself a little neck roll. Start to lengthen your breath, bring it deep into your lower belly area. And just take 3 rounds of breath where you're gonna sweep your arms wide, palms are gonna touch at the top of your inhale, and hands come down through your heart with the exhale. You can choose to close your eyes here and go a little bit more internal. Try to really lengthen through your legs and your spine, reaching the crown of your head towards the sky. Raise your eyebrows just a little. Maybe turn up the corners of your mouth. And wherever you're at, just do one more nice breath like that. And this is actually your learning part of Surya Namaskara as we start. So pause with your hands at your heart. So this is called Samastihi. It's essentially just prayer pose. So your feet, you want your feet to be directly under your hips and your shoulders to be directly over your hips. And your hands are just gently pressing together at your heart. This is a pose. This is an asana, Samastihi. This is the first one in the sun salutations. So when you start a sun salutation, you're going to be at the back of your mat facing forward with the to the long edge of your, or to the short edge of your mat. But I'm just going to move around a little bit more so you can see what I'm doing. So the first pose is Samastihi, hands at the heart. Your next pose is Tadasana, mountain pose. So you didn't move your feet or your hips, you're just bringing your hands down and your palms are slightly forward. A couple elements here, it seems like you're just standing, but it's more than that. You're grounding down through all four corners of your feet. You can lift up your toes and let them come back down one at a time, just to remind you that you don't want to clench the mat with your toes. That's a common thing that we do, especially as beginners, and we want to just start to release our toes and ground down through all four corners of your foot. You feel an inward rotation of your thighs. That's going to start to turn on your quads and your hamstrings and your core. Your hands are slightly forward, but you're trying to shrug your shoulders a little bit more close to each other behind your back. And then notice if you're arching your back, you want to straighten it out by knitting your ribs back down towards, you want to try to shorten space between your hip bone and your ribs. And from here, you're just gently reaching up through the crown of your head. So while you are breathing here, in through your nose and out through your nose, you're much more active than it looks like you're being. So that's the second pose. The third is, I just forgot, Urdhva Hastasana. And essentially it's the same thing that we did before. It's just breathing with your palms coming up to touch at the top. When you do this, you should notice where your shoulders go. A lot of times we bring our shoulders up into our ears like this. You want to constantly be encouraging your shoulders away from your ears. So that might mean that your elbows stay bent a little in order to touch your palms together, because we don't all have a lot of flexibility in the shoulder girdle to bring our hands together with our elbows straight. So a bend in the elbows is fine. Do not stress about that. The next position is just a forward fold. So what you do, you want to sweep your arms wide as you lean forward. And notice as you go, you're not leaning your hips back. You're pushing slightly forward so that your heels are light. Try to keep a long, straight spine, arms go wide. And as you go, keep rotating your thighs in to protect your lower back. And you come all the way down to a forward fold. A couple things to think about in your forward fold. You can soften your knees as much as you like. This is less about the hamstring stretch and more about the hinging and releasing forward of your torso. So when you're in your forward fold, you want the weight still to be slightly forward in the balls of your feet. Legs can be slightly bent or straight. Thighs are rotating towards each other inward. From here, plug your belly button in towards your spine. That's going to turn your core on and keep your back safe. But then release down all the way through your spine. You want to shake your head yes and no a couple times in a forward fold, and then release your head so you feel a long stretch along the back of your neck. The next pose, it's simple. You're just going to bring your hands to your shins, straighten your legs, straighten your back, straighten your arms. So this is a half lift. What is this one? Ardha Uttanasana. So Uttanasana is the Sanskrit word for the forward fold. Ardha Uttanasana is the half lifted forward fold. In this, you want to really feel like you're reaching out through your tailbone. Your spine is pretty straight, and you're reaching forward through the crown of your head. So you'll notice that really turns on your core, turns on your legs. Your hands are pressing gently into your shins, and you're reaching your heart forward. After Urdhva Hastasana, use forward fold again, bring your hands to the mat, and you're going to step your feet into a big lunge. So we'll do left leg back first. Bring your left leg back, hinge forward, stack your knee over your foot, and this one is called Anjaneyasana, otherwise just known as a crescent lunge. So we'll take a moment to get worked into it. Some key elements here. You want your knee to be stacked pretty much directly over your heel or your ankle. You want your left hip not to be open to the side, but to be pushing forward and sinking heavy in. You can bend your back knee a little if that helps, and you'll notice also that maybe you had an arch in your spine, but when you bend your knee, it straightens your back a little, which is what we want. You want to stack your shoulders directly over your hips. You also want to try to press back with your left heel and keep reaching that hip forward. Shoulders are squared forward. And you sweep your arms forward and up. So this is Anjaneyasana or crescent lunge. You kind of squeeze your legs towards each other. I call it scissoring with your thighs. So you're energetically pulling your thighs in towards each other and reaching up. You can stretch up a little higher with your heart, sink your hips lower. This will be done on an inhalation. So you'll notice later we tie everything one move to one breath. The exhalation of this is going to bring your hands down towards the mat. And you're going to step your foot back into plank pose, which in Sanskrit is palakasana. So plank and palakasana sound kind of the same. That's easy to remember. Some key elements in plank. You want to push your heels back, hug your thighs in, sink your hips down a little bit, push up with the back of your rib cage, stretch your heart forward, and feel long so that you would have like one long line of energy from your heels out through the crown of your head. You might notice that I am on fists. That's because I have wrist injuries. So if you do the same modification, you want to be on your fists with the thumb pointing towards the tip of your mat. However, if you have healthy wrists, bring your hands down to the mat, and you want your fingers to be separated very, very wide, and the middle finger points towards the front of the mat. By now, you're probably wishing I would tell you to get out of plank, so we will. The next move, you just lower your knees, bend your elbows to lower your chest down, so it's a little awkward. Chest, chin, and knees come to the ground. From here, you're going to slide into cobra pose, or shalabhasana. Hips come down, heart comes up. From here, you uncurl your toes, stretch your feet back a little bit, and press down through the tops of your toenails. So the action of your toenails pressing in is so strong that you're awakening your whole leg. Your kneecaps might rise a little off of the floor. You keep your gaze straight forward and a little farther past your nose towards the floor in front of you. But you want to keep not looking up. Keep that gaze down so that you feel long in the neck. Couple more elements of this pose. Your hands are directly under your shoulders. Your elbows are tucked back towards your hips. You feel like you're actually pulling your elbows towards your hips and towards each other. So that movement is what brings your heart up and your chest up. So you feel a full engagement of your back. You keep pressing down with your toenails. A lot of people like to hover their hands here, but the only reason that that would happen is if you're pulling back so much with your elbows and shoulders that your hands float. From here, you're going to release down on an exhale. Curl your toes under, and we're going to push up. You have a couple options. So option A would be pushing up through tabletop, curling your toes under, and eventually we will all find our way to down dog, which is Adho Mukha Svanasana. Option B, from the floor, you can curl your toes under, turn into a strong plank, and push up through plank and into down dog. So really, whichever one you like, with your knees on the floor first or through plank, but then we'll find our way to down dog. So before we go into down dog, I want to remind you of a couple elements now. Your heart might be racing, especially if you just stayed in plank with me for a good minute. A lot of the time in yoga, we use our breath to slow down our heart. So if you feel your heart pounding, breathe a little bit deeper into your lower belly. Try to keep the breath coming and going through your nose. And downward dog is actually a resting pose. So it's a good time to let your heart rate slow, even though we are stretching and strengthening almost the entire body. So we will get back into a down dog and I will talk you through it. So everybody start in a plank position because this is where your hands and feet want to be. Your feet are behind you, your hands are directly under your shoulders. From here, you're going to start lifting your hips up and pushing them back like you're trying to reach your hips to the area behind you where the wall and the ceiling meet. And then you're going to settle in. So a couple good key pose refinements. You want to let your heels sink down towards the ground, but it doesn't really matter if they ever touch or not. You just want them reaching down. That's going to stretch your Achilles tendon. Thighs are still rotating in, but you can soften your knees to get your hips farther back. As a matter of fact, you can press your knees down towards the floor and then push your hips back as far as you can. See what that does to your shoulders. Keep your arms where they are and then just straighten your legs and let your head relax. The feeling here is that you're reaching your belly button towards your thighs. You're reaching the back of your thighs towards the wall behind you, and your head is just dangling at the end of your neck. As far as your arms are concerned, you want to rotate your elbow pits towards the front. So your elbow pit is facing in, you want to rotate it slightly towards the front. You'll notice how much that changes your shoulders. If your elbows are pointing out straight, that's one thing, but if they rotate, your shoulders will be in a much safer alignment for the weight bearing that they're doing. So that is Adho Mukha Svanasana, down dog. From here, we're just going to do a lunge again, but with the other leg forward. So we have our right leg forward before, we'll have our left leg forward now. Step your foot forward between your hands. Make sure that you get situated before you raise your arms. Heel directly below the knee. Sweep your arms forward and up. That will be an inhalation and sink in. So again, I'll talk through bottom to top, the foundation of this pose. Back heel is raised. Both legs are pointed straight forward. Back leg comes towards straight by pressing back with the heel. Hips sink down. Right hip reaches forward and sinks heavy down towards the floor. Arms are up, and you want to feel like you have your hands stacked directly over your shoulders, stacked directly over your hips. Squeeze your legs in towards each other. An inhale brings you up high towards the sky. Exhale, bring your hands down towards the mat. This is where it changes. Instead of stepping your foot back, you're going to step your back foot forward, and again, find the forward fold, Uttanasana, forward fold. Long along the back side of your body, feel the opening across your whole back side of your body. Ardha Uttanasana, hands come to shins, half lift. Ardha Uttanasana, half lift. That's going to be an inhalation. The exhalation brings you back into Urdhva Hastasana as you inhale your arms forward and up. And exhale your hands down to your heart to Samastihi. And from there, you'll just close your eyes and take a moment to relax. Feel your heart slowing, let your breath fill your body. And take a moment in between things in yoga to just feel your body. So that is essentially all you need to know about Surya Namaskara, sun salutation, classical style. There are lots of really cool things that you can incorporate. You'll notice that when you do all of these forward folds, you might want to do a bigger back bend. We've done the forward folds here, and we did the little back bend on the floor. So because your body might crave other things, that's why sun salutation A and B start to incorporate other things, some twists, and some more strengthening. And we'll get into those later. What we'll do now is I will just talk us through 2 sun salutations. So one salutation starts with one leg. Basically, you're working through your whole body, both sides, twice. I don't know why I was trying to make that more complicated. So let's all start together. And we'll start at the back of your mat. In Samastihi, hands are at your heart, gently pressed, and then we'll be ready. I'm going to talk us through this with one breath per one movement. However, if the pace of the breath and movement doesn't fit your breath, if you're finding it hard to make your breath long enough or short enough, don't worry so much about getting the breath tied to the movement yet. Allow yourself to maybe breathe twice through each movement if you're breathing faster than me. Just start to get used to the different ideas of when you would be breathing in, and start to really pay attention to the movements, the poses, the asana that we're doing, so that you can start to build it into your muscle memory, so that when you do it on your own, you can tie it to your breath pace. I know when I was a beginning yogi, I used to get really stressed out about not being able to have the deepest breath, and there's no point stressing about it. So, that said, release all of the breath out of your body and bring your hands down in Tadasana. We'll start to breathe in. Inhale your arms up high towards Urdhva Hastasana, arms up, palms touch. The exhale into Uttanasana, forward fold, is nice and slow. Lead with your heart, weight forward. Hands come to shins. Inhale for that half lift, Uttanasana. Exhale down, and we'll walk your hands forward, step your foot forward into the Anjaneyasana lunge. So that's the exhale there. The inhale is bringing your arms up. As you exhale, bring your hands down, frame your foot on the mat. Step your foot back to Palakasana, plank, and down to the floor. At the end of your exhalation, inhale into Cobra Pose, Salabhasana. Head and heart up, elbows back. Exhale, slowly roll down. Choose your way to come up either through plank or tabletop, and inhaling your hips up and back to down dog. Take a big breath in here through your nose, and let it go through your mouth. The next inhalation, step your left foot forward, and we'll find our way into Anjaneyasana, inhaling your arms forward and up. Exhaling, hands down to the mat. Step your back foot forward. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, sweep your arms wide, come up into Urdhva Hastasana, arms, palms touch at the top. Samastihi, exhale your hands to your heart. Pause here for a big breath in through the nose. And then we'll let it go through your mouth. Seal up your lips. Inhale your arms up high. Palms touch at the top. Exhale, forward fold, Uttanasana. Nice and slow, let your head relax. Hands to shins, inhale for the half lift, Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, forward fold. Hands come to the floor, step your left foot back into a big high lunge with your right foot forward. Inhale, Anjaneyasana, crescent lunge. Sink your hips down, reach your heart up high. Exhale, hands come down to the floor, step your foot back to the plank and lower all the way down. Uncurl your toes. Bhujangasana, inhale, peel your face and chest up. Exhale, roll forward, curl your toes under. Inhale your way to down dog, either through plank or tabletop. Take a big breath in. Let a big breath go. On an inhalation, step your left foot forward between your hands. Sweep your arms forward and up on the next inhalation. Sorry, I got a little confused on my breaths there. Exhaling your hands down towards the mat. Step your foot forward into the forward fold. Your next inhalation brings your hands and shins together for the half lift. Releasing forward on an exhalation, start to sweep your arms wide. Be ready to inhale yourself all the way up. Ardha Hastasana. Exhale, hands to your heart, Samastihi. Close your eyes. Take 2 or 3 large, soft breaths. Try to let something go. Notice if you're really tensing up your muscles, relax your legs. Let your tail hang heavy, let your heart float up a little lighter. And then keeping your hands at your heart, if your eyes are still open, let them close. And I forgot to teach one more asana that's important for the sun salutation. It is smile asana. So all that means is that you turn up the corners of your mouth and keep them up there for the next 3 slow breaths. Try to draw your breath deep down into your lower belly area. Maybe pretend like your whole body is a balloon and that your lungs are not the only place that your air can fill, but that your whole body can be filled with the air. At the end of your next breath, release your hands. Let your eyes blink open and just feel your body in your space for another breath or 2. You might notice, you might not, but you might notice after I've practiced a little bit of yoga, I feel like I have this energy bubble and like a big ball around my mat. And I just like to feel my energy filling up that bubble ball. And you can keep that energy field around you. One of the things that I love about yoga is we can take this calmness, this lengthening of our body and our spirit out with us into the world. So feel free to do that and take it with you outside. If you have a little bit longer today, I would like to invite you to do the sun salutations at least 5 more times. It's just a really good full body strengthening and lengthening practice. I will be releasing Sun A and Sun B within the next week. I think we'll be doing it 1 a week, so we'll just incorporate more. I'm also have posted a couple other yoga classes. So after this, you might feel like being a little bit more invigorated. I have an invigorating yoga that's 30 minutes. There's also a relaxing yoga on the floor. So you're welcome to go back and find any of those to make it this a full hour practice. And I hope that you have a great day. Thanks for joining me for yoga. Let's do one more breath together. Let's inhale our arms up high, palms touch at the top. And as you exhale, bring your hands down to your heart and just bow forward nice and slow, bowing towards the teacher inside of yourself. The teacher and student in me bows to the teacher and student in each of you. Come back up to standing. Namaste.